So I'll call the North Smithfield School Committee meeting of September 20th, 2022 to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Chair Lombardi.
Present.
Mrs. Mayo. Here. Mrs. Bonner. Here. Mr. McConnell.
Here.
Mr. Jones.
Here. We have 5 present. We have a quorum. Moving on to the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, for which it stands, one nation, indivisible.
Moving on to public comment and community comment. I don't believe I saw anyone signed up. Is there anyone? We take comments on Zoom?
Yeah, nobody is indicating that they have comments.
Okay, great. Let's move on to the consent agenda. Let's see.
Chair, could I, item 11, move?
Yes.
I'm going to recuse because I've done some work with the kids club president in the past.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda absent item 11.
So moved.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
And seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to item number 11. I'll entertain a motion to approve item number 11, which is Kids Club.
So moved.
Motion been made. Is there a second?
Second.
And seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. Cano, you officially refused.
I recuse.
Thank you. Moving on to reports. Superintendent?
Right, just going to take a moment and share my screen. Right, so this is something by my contract that every September I'll be sharing the goals and priorities for the coming year. And these goals and priorities are tied to our current strategic plan, which I will tell you at the end is going to be scrapped entirely. So not to say that none of this is important, but it's going to be, the format will be changing, and I'll explain why. So under our first strategic plan area, high standards, quality instruction, curricular, and student success, the priority, to be honest, a lot of it is a continuation of the previous years. As this year, we're managing some significant ESSER funds, which are dedicated towards social emotional needs of students, high impact tutoring, math intervention, summer learning, it's student enrichment, and after school programs. And I have to say that our principals, our staff are just so happy with all the additional resources that we have bring in to bear through ESSER funds that are dedicated to improving our students' well-being and academic success. We will be and are in the process of updating the K-12 yearly frameworks for English language arts and math. We're implementing a new elementary mathematics instructional program. And again, these are all aligned with high quality curriculum as defined by the Department of Education. And we're implementing middle school and elementary interim assessments in English language arts and mathematics. And the important piece of that is that it's giving our teachers tremendous real-time data to assess the students' learning, their progress, and then also break out and target additional skills that individual students may need. For safe and supportive schools, where we've been reviewing a district-wide social emotional health program, and we've been doing professional development in the area. And we're pretty close to actually wrapping our arms around a specific program that we will follow for student social emotional health and behaviors. Right now, elementary, middle, high school, they have important things going, but we're looking to unify that to make it a district-wide continuum. Alice protocols. Now, October 20th, Alice is the protocols that we follow in the event, God forbid, of an active shooter in our schools. We have done staff training over the past couple of years, and it became very difficult during COVID because a couple of times we've had to cancel district-wide training because we couldn't take the risk of having everybody in the district in one room in close contact. So we've done some individual trainings. October 20th is a professional development day. It will be an asynchronous learning day for the students, but during that time, our teachers are going to go, actually all of our staff are going through the ALICE training again, specific for their buildings. And at which point afterwards, we will be rolling out the ALICE training and the protocols to students. Now, I will have a lot of information going out to the parents to let them know what that entails. Everything that about this is grade level appropriate. So it's not going to be too scary for the little ones, but we will have all the information available to the parents, and certainly in a community forum if they have questions, but we feel that this is a critical thing for our staff and our students to have. Now, along with that, yes,
Superintendent?
I'm sorry, sir. Can I ask a question? Absolutely. I'm sorry, Superintendent, just a quick question. You said they're doing asynchronous classes that day, and they're also going to be doing this at the same time?
the students will be working at home. They will be given assignments while our teachers are focusing in on the ALICE training and other professional development.
So will it be like monitoring them? Well, will there be somebody in the class to monitor?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
In fact, the Department of Education has allowed one day for professional development using a virtual platform. So,
Thank you.
all right. And along with that is the adoption of new safety student policies, protocols, measures, and professional development. In fact, you had the first reading of a couple of our policies. The protocols will be following up with that, detailed step 1, 2, 3, ABC, what to do in all of these situations when they occur. Now, under staff, we're in our second year of common planning time, which is that 45 minutes before school that the teachers have to meet in teams and departments by grade level. And we've been able to do a tremendous amount of professional development on a daily basis instead of what we had previously, which was several times a year. So this has been a very effective framework that we have in place. And I have to say, we're one of the very few districts that are doing this K to 12. Generally, when they have common planning time, it's at a high school, and it follows like an early release Wednesday. Now, we don't do that, and we're able to extend it to the middle school, the elementary school, and in times we've even been able to combine some of the common planning time between the high school and the middle school because the teachers are available at that time. So cross-departmental, music department, for example, can now meet, middle and high school teachers together and plan. We're also implementing professional development focused on making up achievement gaps in students tied to the data that we're gathering, and continuing the statewide, but our district literacy plan and science of reading professional development, which is a tremendous lift. And if Claire Arnold doesn't have a anxiety attack, a breakdown, a wig out, over trying to coordinate this and make everything happen. I hope it doesn't. But if it does, I will fully understand why. And community engagement and communication. So always we're trying to expand community outreach and support. In fact, I had a meeting today with Dr. Burns about our CTE programs at the high school. How are we doing bringing in local professionals to participate? And, so again, now that COVID is quieted down, we really need to be opening our schools and bringing in the local and community experts. And then regular scheduled communications from myself to the school committee and community. I did a lot of memos out to the community last year. You guys, when we talk about my evaluation, you can hammer me because I haven't been very good about sending out a little Friday update to everyone, because I kind of blink my eyes and next thing you know, a Friday has passed and second Friday comes up. And so we'll be better with that in a few months. And then operation of facilities, again, the ESSER funds, COVID monies, we want to invest it in the students first, and then in any kind of facilities that qualify so that that short-term money has long-term, long-lasting benefits. Again, Mr. Seaweed, maintenance department, custodial department, the work that they're doing with in-house renovation and modernization of our schools is just fantastic. We have more projects coming up this year. We are still on track to expand the athletic facilities for the track and field, extended events this spring. We have you asked me about the baseball field, that's also on the list. All right.
We have sponsors.
We have sponsors. We're continuing on with the high school window replacement and other ride-approved warm, safe, and dry projects. Now, also to add to that, we're at the end of that previous 5-year cycle. And so we're applying for the next round, the next 5 years. So we will be presenting that to you and what that entails. But I can just tell you off the top, we still have approved warm, safe, dry projects from this go around. The next go around, we really have to again, make progress on the ones that have been previously approved, but we also have roofs that need to be replaced. We're going to be completing the replacement of all the old windows at the high school, but the new wing, not the new wing, not the one we just built, wing C, which was what, 10 years, the purple wing, 16 years ago, those windows need to be replaced. Right, so I think it was a low bid and they put house windows in there instead of commercial windows, and they need to be replaced. Today, we ran out of water at NSES. We need to deal with the water issue there. We need that generator in place. We need to upgrade NSES. That will be the next round of funding, along with the continuation of the warm, safe, dry at the high school. Now, the office staff and development, we're doing a restructuring and a PD push with our front office, admin staff, our administrators, because this year the middle school now has 2 people in the front office, as does the elementary and high school. So we're all on the same plane. And so it's time to really just sit back, to dig in and make sure all of our procedures are in sync with each other. And along with that will become office efficiency, customer service, and all of the tasks that we have in the front office, we're also going to be doing a run book, and documenting everything, because systems change, personnel changes, and we're just making a concerted effort to invest in our front offices and smooth operations. And then you'll also see a series this year of reviewing and updating school committee policies. Now, having said all that, that was under our current strategic plan. The Department of Ed has put out a statewide strategic plan, which actually mirrors the one that we developed. Now, I'm not going to say the Department of Ed cheated and modeled it off
Ooh.
of ours. All right, but let me tell you, it's pretty close. All right, so, and I say that for the father's benefit. All right, so what it basically entails is the Department of Ed has put out a series of its priorities and goals. They would like the districts to sort of mirror those, but then break down our own initiatives and action steps which meet the statewide goals. And so the hope is that with all the districts working on the same framework, as we're putting our initiatives, our priorities in there, and we're backing it up with the data and what is successful, that we can look across at the state at results from other districts, use the programs they use, the information, the data sources, and help align us to see what is working best across the state. And then maybe we can reach out to individual districts. Hey, how did you do that? How did you get the results? We're using the same thing you are, the same protocols, but your results are pretty good. What are you doing different that we could model? So that's the design to get everybody sort of on the same playing field. And along with that is not a separate district strategic plan, school plan. It's mirroring it all. So the school improvement teams, the work that happens at the school level will mirror what happens at the district level. We will be there to support the local, the school level. And meanwhile, we can, look across the state and see, what is working, what isn't, and how things can be improved. So that will be quite a bit of work this year, and putting this together and moving everything into the new framework. However, I will also have to say, our plan was pretty good, and I do anticipate some copying and pasting going forward, because we did all right, and this will just actually make it better.
Great. Thank you, Superintendent.
Could I ask one
Absolutely.
question?
Mhm.
If you go back up to the first one, the high standards.
Yep.
So I know you've had this issue, as many others in the field, the ESSER funds, right?
Right.
Are you going to be able to tie your ESSER funding, high impact tutoring, all those other programs to your student information system so that you'll be able to see through the interim assessments, talking about evidence-based?
Right.
If the high impact tutoring for certain kids, in other words, I know, because it's not, your student information system isn't necessarily set up for that. So I'm curious to know if it's something you're thinking about. I know it's something that a lot of districts are worried about, how they're going to be able to really
Right.
find out, so that you can make that pitch going forward, that these are the programs that help the kids.
And that is one of the things, because we're using ESSER funds for some ELA and math intervention. We're using it for student engagement counselors, and we do need to have a way of backing it up so that in 2 years, when these funds dry up, that we can show that this was a good bang for the buck. Now, our student information system is capable of tracking quite a bit, but to go up to that level, we're looking at a very pricey purchase. Right. So, but in the meantime, though, we do have, unfortunately, multiple systems that we can stitch the data together. A lot of it is through the RIDE portal as well. So RIDE is doing some good work with allowing us to upload our data and being able to drill down to the individual student level. But it's going to take a bit more work on our end to tie it all together. And this is one of those things that in my previous life with data and technology, and every year I've taken a little, a stab at it to sort of bring all of these different silos into one place. Whether we purchase a service or if I just build it myself, it usually gets pushed aside. But now that we have Dr. Burns with us, I don't think I can get away with any kind of excuses to not have data at her fingertips so that she can click, 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 drill down, associate, relate, slice and dice, and, being able and drive those decisions at the building level. So while Claire Arnold has the whole ESSER and the literacy, the training in literacy, I have Dr. Burns and data who will probably lead me to the breakdown as well. So, but yes, that is a challenge, and especially when we're talking about just our student engagement counselors, they're doing some amazing things, and they have kids after school, and they're going into classrooms and meeting with groups of students. But how do you quantify that?
I think, right, because I'm sure they do different things with different students, and you
Right.
want to know what works, and what
Right.
isn't working, for which students, and
Right. But there is a purpose to match up a student with the engagement counselor. So there are things that we can look at academically, social, emotionally, behaviorally, that can help drive, the critical nature of that role.
Any other question? So Superintendent, just on an aside, if you remember, it was about 3 weeks ago, there was like an all-day football game,
Mhm.
games, different games.
Yeah.
We hosted it, which is a great thing.
Right.
So I looked down at my phone and go, oh my. Hello? I thought it was going to be the concession stands closed. Right. Just want to let you know, the concession stand is unbelievable. The bathrooms are clean. It was the first one. It was the first call I got that was positive about everything and how wonderful everything is and how great the field looks.
And then smash your phone after that and
Right.
never receive another
Right.
phone call. Just leave it at that.
So great job. Thank you. Any other questions or concerns? All right. Thank you, Superintendent. Moving on to item number 4. This is for informational purposes. Does anybody have any questions, concerns? Okay, moving
I'd like to just
Yes.
call out one name.
Absolutely.
Number 1M, Dylan Bannister. Dylan graduated North Smithfield High School. He came to us as a intern and then was hired as a technician and has now been promoted to systems administrator. Right, and we want to say goodbye to Josh. He was our systems administrator, but he got an offer for far more money than we could possibly afford. And so, we wish him well, and we're just so excited to have Dylan move on up.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 5, old business. Lisa, is there anything in the fiscal year 22 budget? 23? Okay. Moving on to item number 3, discussion and/or updates on solar canopy and expansion of parking at Veterans Memorial Complex. Superintendent?
So you had asked Lisa, Alan, and myself to review the proposals and come back with a recommendation. And here's what I'm going to say. I don't know. Right? So on the surface, I love the concept. I think it's fantastic. And I like expanding the parking spaces. I like the thought of tying into solar to use green energy. We still have some concerns for the long term. And that would be, what if the company goes out of business?
Yeah,
No.
they post a bond.
Right. Well, so these are just some of the questions that we came up with, and and as far as the financing of it, the as they had mentioned, the 40-year tax waiver. I mean, that's obviously up to you in the town. The only thing that I did ask Mr. Seeley to do, just for a point of reference is if we were to expand 60 spots in the parking lot minus the solar and just add more parking, what would that cost? Now, he has reached out, but I was hoping to have that ballpark price tonight, but we don't have that quite yet. But that was pretty much the extent of the conversation, was that, yes, in concept, it's fantastic. I think it would look great. It's sort of the long-term management and maintenance of it. And then maybe the cost via of what it would take just to add more parking.
So if I may ask, if you could find it in your budget to expand the parking, and if you don't want to do solar, that's fine. Otherwise, why not go out to bid? There's no question we need to expand that parking lot.
Right,
That's the
right.
primary thing,
Right.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
And if this is a way to do it with solar, then put in all the safeguards. And I understand because I, as the solicitor, was against when they did the Capella turbine.
Oh, right.
I was against that because they wouldn't post a bond to take
Right.
it down.
Right.
So I understand that fully, but
Yeah.
put that in the specs.
Right.
And again, I'm only saying that from my point of view. I don't know if anybody else supports it, but I think we need to find a way to expand that parking lot. I was there the other day. I was parking in the street.
Yeah, I know.
So,
I know.
So I don't know if anybody else wants to comment.
I actually had some questions. And one of them was, what would it cost us to expand that parking lot on our own? And I have no concept or understanding of this at all. It may be the best deal ever, especially when you look at the list of things that might possibly enhance that whole space. But I feel that I'm really not qualified to make a decision on this because I can't look at the value comparison chart that was included in the proposal and proof the numbers. Just doesn't make sense to me. It sounds great. We're getting an expanded parking lot, which is definitely needed, of course, but the town is getting no financial benefit. I would also think that this would have to go to other appropriate boards in the town, the zoning board maybe, the planning board definitely, and of course the town council ultimately. And I'm wondering if if they're expecting us to make a decision that can be forwarded to these other boards, and is our decision going to be used to influence the decision of the other boards? I just don't know. And I hate to be a naysayer. I just feel I don't know enough about this. And I'm wondering if there isn't a way that there could be a compromise position where we could get the parking lot, the town could get some level of compensation, which right now is zero, and Green could make a profit as well. I just don't know.
Well,
and it's moving so fast. That makes me a little bit nervous as well.
When we did the addition at NSCS and the science lab renovations, we had an owner's project manager, who was able to take a look at the specs and the engineering and be able to assess it. And again, Alan Sepia is fantastic. All right, but when you start getting into 40-year terms, when you start getting into solar agreements, buying and selling it on the market, and certainly the solicitors have to look at it because some of the concerns that we had that, okay, what if green development in 5 years is no longer around? And are we owning it to keep repairing it and keep running it? And that's the concern, is the long-term implications, which I won't be here at that stage, nor will Alan or you on that. But it's one of the concerns going forward. And if the bid specs or the solicitor going through the contract can sort of make that the changes to assure everybody that no one's left holding something. But again, in concept, I like the thought.
So what would you like to do from here?
Well, if you would like us to go through, put together the bid specs for this, we can. We can also continue to get a price for, okay, what is it just to put in 60 spots? However you want to proceed. Again, as far as it pays for itself in the finances, we don't have that expertise in that area to make that determination, whether it's a good deal or not. But I would defer that to the town. I would defer to yourself. I would defer to any of the boards that made up of the town, or any experts that could be brought in as a sort of objective arbiter of this.
So do you know if it needs a zoning change? Did we find that out?
I don't know. It was brought up at that joint meeting, but I don't know.
Well, I guess I'm wondering, why are we the first ones that make a decision on this?
So the school, I mean, the town council brought it before themselves, brought it there
Right.
first.
Right.
I believe they voted to move it forward. I reached out to the council president and said, okay, but it's on school property. And can we have a joint meeting?
Right.
So that we can have it explained, and I mean, it's custody and control, so it's on the school property. He agreed, of course. And then we called a joint meeting, so that's how it got there. I think they support, I mean, I think they voted to support it, or that's what I heard. So I would assume that they would support tax stabilization, or they wouldn't have brought it forward.
Okay.
And again, I agree with it. I don't know if this is a good deal or a bad deal. It sounds like a good deal, but if we put it up to bid, we'll know.
But now I wonder, I come back to what Ms. Mayo said, does it make sense for us to get it in front of these other boards first? Because if you put it out to bid and then zoning and planning says you can't do it, then I feel like it's a little cart before the horse.
I think we'd make that a condition of the bid. I mean, they would have to go to planning and zoning. We don't have that. We don't have that ability and knowledge.
All we could do, really, is authorize the concept, you know, we approve the concept. Details are gonna happen. That can't go through. The zoning issue is still involved. Maybe it's not, maybe this list is already weighed in on it. So like, last meeting, I didn't get pressure. It wasn't resolved. Plan two at a minimum. So I do agree, I'm not really sure what we're doing. I mean, I get it seems to me that in my mind, we're approving the concept of moving forward. We wouldn't put it up.
I'm not even too
No,
sure
we
who would be. Yeah.
I think they were asking us to do it. That's why.
Maybe we could do it with them. We could work with them, collaboratively with, on the bid, but in the end, it would be their bid.
I think this just speaks to how we're not really sure where we stand in the process yet. You know, I mean, I had problems with the presentation, but it didn't feel complete. I would really like, before we put a bid out, I would really like to see, I would like to see this go before zoning and planning before it comes back to either the school committee or the town council. I can't speak for them, obviously, but I just think that there's so many, this is a good sounding project and I want it to work. But I think there's a lot of questions as to maybe something.
Who would even put the bid document together? you know, we put a lot of bid documents together in conjunction with our attorney, but it's also within areas that we have great familiarity with. So like when we did our renovation projects, you know, we hired a firm who put the bid documents together and, you know, handled all of that. So again, so even just writing up and gathering all these specifications for the different companies to look at, it's again, it's outside of our sphere of expertise.
Well, that's another good question, actually, because if we or the town commits money to put a bid process together and hire somebody to go through that, now we're spending money on a bid process. And in doing this bid, I mean, is Green Development, for example, going to commit to going through this process, or are they
Right.
just going to say, nah, you know what, we wanted to give this to you, you don't want it, we're going to walk away. And now we have a bid process with a project we know we need to do, but we're not necessarily sure we're equipped to do.
Or is Green considered a sole source because they're coming forward and saying, hey, look, we're going to do all of this for you. It's not going to cost you anything out of pocket. So again, it's, you know, there are a lot of layers to this one. I'm just trying to
I think, yeah, I
unravel
think
it.
the transparency, it has to go out the bid,
Yeah.
just for transparency, whether it is a sole source or not, then they'll be the only one who bid. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? That's a, around that. All right, so whatever the committee wants to do, I just, again, in the end, would like to see the parking lot expanded, however that may happen.
I know there was talk about, time was to get it in. If we don't, can we wait till the next meeting and find out what the super, back without, you know, whatever the cost is, and a lot, or do we lose this opportunity tonight if we don't do it? We know where we stand on that.
According to the presentation, there was a time element.
Yeah.
So I don't know that answer. You know, I'm not obviously representing.
No.
I just would hate to lose this opportunity and then continue to hang up. I mean, I see it much simpler, and maybe I see it as come back with this is what we need to do. Come back with a concept. I don't care if it's Green, I don't care if it's a different company, I don't care if it's a company that wants to do advertising. I mean, whatever it may be, we need to expand the parking lot. What is the plan to expand the parking lot? We need 60 spots, we need this, we need that. We already have the drawings from Green. Take those, the price okay, I guess, and put it out to bid, whatever it may be. If you don't want to do the solar canopies, do the solar array up on the side of the school or something. I'm not advocating for that. I'm just saying it might be a different option to help us build that. That's all. Again, maybe Green doesn't want to bid. But if somebody does, let's see what happens.
Chair, what I think I can say is maybe that if we approve it in concept and move forward with it, but the specifics would be something like that to delve into the next week.
Well, no, I'm asking the administration. I was hoping they'd come back and say, this is a path forward, or it's not, it's not a way, it's not something that we support. And again, if you have to work with the town on putting out a bid, I don't see the bid. I don't want to say it's that complicated. Again, have someone come back and say, we need 60 spots, we need an exit over there, subject to the state. Come back with the project, whatever it may be.
And again, I was hoping to have that information for you tonight,
Okay.
but we got held up with the, getting the estimate. But we should have that shortly.
And you know what, some company may come back and you got the Pepsi logo, or the Coke logo
Right.
on the thing, and they'll pay for it. Now, and then the committee may go, that's too tacky, we're not doing it. But you know what I mean? That's, the concept is parking to me.
Right. In ballpark, it may come in around 200,000, 250,000.
That's something that we can cover.
Well, come down.
we could cover it in the fund balance.
Would there ever be a reimbursement possibility in that?
Not safe.
What is safety, open space?
Once
Uh,
they
I
die.
guess that might be the opposite.
Yeah, they, you know, as far as, we can look, but I pretty much, no, they don't do outdoor spaces. It's the money is
Oh, I
basically
think they
for
do out-
facility. Now, unless they change something.
Hmm.
But I don't know if
Commerce does.
additional parking at an athletic field would qualify, just like,
It's additional parking for the school, just in case it overfills, they can park down there.
however you want to interpret it. Just like we couldn't get reimbursement for the track and the turf field. It's not covered.
I mean, like,
Good.
We could make the fit.
So let's, the committee wants to put it in your hands, make the determination. If you want to go out to bid, go out to bid. If you don't think you have the qualifications, don't. I mean, that's.
I think like Lisa said, they don't want to bid, counts.
Right, but then work with the town to get it out. I mean, they seem to want it more than we do, that specific issue, but, I don't know.
Let me get the price for the park before just extending the parking. All right, and then we can reach out to the town and put, and, you know, sort of, go in parallel and go for the bid.
Well,
But at
but
least
if
we
you-
have,
But if you think that you can do it otherwise without, that's fine, at least with me. If you think, I guess maybe, you know, but if you want to make that decision, then it's 400,000, you go, you know what? I don't have the money.
Yeah.
Let's try it. But
Mhm.
again, that's just my position. I don't want to overstep.
I'll contact Ryan in the meantime to see if there's something.
Contact Commerce too. Commerce has some open space money. Now, I'm not saying that's open space. They might even have some safety money.
I can inquire. That one. That'd be helpful. And I guess all I'll do is I'll echo everything Mrs. Mayo said. I do not feel that I am in place to make this kind of decision. I didn't know how to put a bid package together. I don't know very much about solar. And I know that it is becoming more and more contentious around the state and particularly in rural areas. So I just feel like we have to be super sure about whatever we do here.
Independent project. You know, just get some of that insight. Budget is just say, look, what are gonna do in this?
Further out.
Okay, almost
Sure.
Like, oh yeah, yeah, hey, but you know, it would be a consultant. Not like we're nominal life. It might give a little more comfort in terms of where we're at.
Yeah, that's okay.
Somebody want to make a motion or, I mean,
I'm open, but like, to what? You know what I'm saying? I'm open to proceed in theory, in concept, or.
authorize the superintendent to move forward however he sees fit. To try to expand that the parking.
Because you're right, that is our number one concern. So I agree with you. I like that.
yeah, no, and honestly, I like the thought of getting the parking expanded. I like the concept of the solar. I'm just uncomfortable with a 40-year commitment. You know, the long term, that's the thing that concerns me. But putting in parking, sure. But we'd also like to repave the finish repaving the parking lot over at NSCS. I'd like to expand the opening at NSCS. I mean, if any place needs an extra entry or egress, it's NSCS, you know, but we can do something with that road. So. But we'll do the 60 spots at the athletic field That's the priority.
No, you should come back to us with all of your priorities.
Okay.
All I think the issue is if we get, we have a firm who's offering to do something, if we have a proposal, that all projects, superintendent pointed out, are important and valid. But we have a project that we presented to us involving parking, so
Yeah,
that's what we have.
And it could be the best deal, and it could be,
Yeah.
you know,
How am I gonna go? I don't know. I mean, I can say I don't know. I don't know. But I'll support going. I'll make a motion. Are you fine for a motion? Okay, I'll make a motion that in regard to the item number 3 under old business, solar canopy expansion, a parking at Veterans Memorial Complex. We authorize the superintendent to investigate the investment. And
Specifically to the expansion of parking and secondarily to other options.
okay, yeah, all right, yes.
Bannerman, did you get that? No.
We make, the motion is that we authorize the superintendent to pursue the issue of solar canopy and or expansion of parking at the Veterans Memorial Complex with a priority first on parking, second on the solar canopy.
Yeah, would you add or other options?
Well, and or other, sure, and third, and or other options.
That motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Is there any discussion?
It is general, but at least it's a step, and I think it, I don't know if it's probably one more direction, but at least it's moving us forward.
and
He gets it.
again,
Okay.
and as Jim said, if they come back and it's $500,000 to put in 60 spots versus then, you know, it may be too much. Yeah, so then we
Yeah.
look at the other option.
Yeah.
And we'll also reach out to the town and,
Yeah, I
you
think
know,
that's
say,
a good idea.
we gotta coordinate with them on this.
And I talked to the zoning official. I'm sure they'll know off the top of their head if there's an
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
In the planning.
Right.
Planner.
I'd like to put the record, I'd like to work with the council on this. I think fire, just the fire, what they were looking for. Yeah, what they want from us. I know they want
Mhm.
some kind of approval, but exactly. Bid out, I didn't think we put the bid out, that was my. When I was at the meeting, when we left, I thought ultimately they put the bid out, that's right. But maybe I misunderstood.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to item number 6, new business, approval to administer the MEASC PS opinion survey for high school students.
So the North Smithfield High School, it's been 7 years since the last accreditation visit from NEASC, and they are coming back to assess our high school to get it reaccredited. And part of the process is a required survey that has to be administered to families, faculty, and students. So we provided a copy of the surveys to family, faculty, and students, and we're just looking for the permission to go into the survey. Again, it's required. We're also recommending that it is presented and we follow the NEASC script, and it's an opt-out for the survey as opposed to opt-in. Now, the student survey is set to be administered between January and February, so there's a lot of time to get the information out, to notify everyone, to make, in fact, I was talking to Dr. Burns, if anybody has in the community has a question or concern as to the survey, how it will be used, she's happy to meet with everybody.
And are they educational questions?
They're all educational questions. It's their perception of learning, of the school. It doesn't, it's
Parents can opt,
Yes.
parents can opt out, say, two weeks.
Cool.
Uh, very-
They're safe questions.
Anybody have any questions?
One of my questions was, is this required? And obviously it is because you just stated that.
It is.
Because I know that we had a lot of controversy in the past regarding surveys, and
Mhm.
what we came up with for our policy was that we will limit and prioritize surveys, excuse me.
Right.
And I'm just wondering if this will impact any other surveys that might be important to us as far as information gathering.
The thing with this survey is that their questions actually have quite a bit of overlap with Survey Works. And so Survey Works comes up a little bit later in the year, but it is a very similar set of questions NEASC is looking for, that Department of Ed is looking for.
And I assume this information isn't individual, you can't individually identify.
Correct.
correct if I'm wrong, Beck can ask this too. If we don't do NEAS survey, we can, if you don't do it, you can risk losing NEAS accreditation, and that could cost us funds, can't it?
Yeah, and if, actually, I don't know if you would have some questions for Dr. Burns, because she's the one who is meeting with the NEAS committee and, really working on not just the survey, but all of the things that NEAS is requiring of us for the certification and accreditation.
Well, to clarify, Dr. Hello, hello. Just to clarify, am I correct? I mean, if we don't do this, if we lose NEAS accreditation, it's not just symbolic accreditation, it's financial.
Yes, losing high school accreditation would be devastating. It's high school accreditation is a big deal. It would have a huge impact on our students getting into colleges that they want. And I think just in general, the reputation of our district and the high school is doing such wonderful things. We have every reason to believe that the NEAS visit is going to go very well, and we'll be receiving praise for the fine work that we're doing. So it would be a shame to kind of not comply with the requirements of the visit, and the survey is one of the requirements.
Can you explain how that, after this data is gathered, is the surveys are administered, how it's to be used as far as the NEAS visit, and how you're going to utilize that data?
Yes, the team at North Smithfield High School will receive the data back, and then we'll be using the data as part of our self-study, which is, there's 5 committees made up. Every faculty member is a part of a committee that's aligned to the NEAS standards, and they'll use the survey data as evidence for areas to celebrate and also areas that are in need of improvement. And it serves as a baseline for what the team will help us when they come to visit next December 2023. You're welcome.
Anything else?
Just, I would like to recuse myself from any votes going forward as Survey Works Manager at the Rhode Island Department of Education. Thank you.
Sure. Chair, I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion. Chair, and members of the committee, I will move to approve the administration of the NEAS CPS opinion survey to our high school students.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to Peg, you officially recused. Thank you. New business, approval to apply for virtual snow days. Superintendent?
Yeah, so the Department of Education, we can't just switch over into virtual days, as we wish or as needed, which is fine because we fully want our students in person in front of our teachers. However, there's the question of what happens during inclement weather. And the Department of Ed has put out an application that if you would like to use virtual for snow days, you can apply and do this. So we did put out a poll, and let me tell you, it is, I think I'm up to page 27 on this application right now. It's detailed, it asks for a lot. But the reason why we went forward with it, we put out a poll to the parents and the staff. In the event of a school cancellation due to weather, would you like to have a traditional snow day, no school, make it up in June, or a virtual snow day? Assignments at home, Google Meets, all of that. No extra days added in June. So we had 882 responses.
Wow.
And the survey that the poll that went out to the parents, it wasn't, please do one for each student, so this could cover 1, 2, 3, 4 students, however many in the family. So of the 882, 78.8% said, yeah, we can do virtual. 21% said traditional. Right. So
Sorry, is that teachers and parents, or is that just parents?
that was teachers and parents.
So do
That was
you know
both.
what the breakdown is just for parents?
Parents, it was still about 75% wanted it. Teachers, it was more in favor of doing virtual. But the numbers were pretty much pretty similar. Right. So for the families, I'm sorry, actually I wrote that down on another document. It was about 72% wanted the virtual, and the others, I can't do the math at the top of my head, 28%, said traditional. But it was still the majority favored the virtual. Now, yeah,
So when you say virtual, are the teachers teaching from their
Yes.
house?
yes.
Wow.
So, and Wright has criteria around that, how many hours and, and what qualifies as, as the virtual instruction day. The other thing that I also put out in the form, in the information to the parents, that I'm looking at this as a worst case scenario. And it's not to be used at 5 in the morning when we're all trying to decide, are we opening school, we delaying school? This is only for something that is well known in advance, that we can sort of, okay, we know a blizzard is coming, we're going to declare this one virtual. The other thing is, or if we have a terrible winter, we do our traditional snow days, but now we're stacking up days into June. And let me tell you, in our 90 degrees classrooms, after the last day of school, calendar day of school, there's not the best learning happening. So we're just putting it out there as an option. Worst case scenario, last choice. But if it comes up, we have a terrible winter, or we know something is coming up in advance and we can easily call it, then we'll have the virtual option. Of which, when laid out to the families and the staff, the majority said, yeah, okay, let's do virtual.
Like you said, there is discretion.
Yes.
So, because I know I had heard from some parents around, hey, what about the original? And I remember snow days, so you have that kind of discretion where there was a big blizzard and
Right.
families are all home anyway.
Yeah. And, and then we also have to factor in power in this town. I mean, and there's a lot of things. It's just to have this sort of, you know, in our bag to, you know, if we need to use it. And I know last winter, I put out on Facebook, I said, you know, kids should, you know, I think I assigned the parents to peg the kids with a snowball. That there would be, it's a traditional snow day and every kid needs to be hit in the back of the head with a snowball. And I had parents saying, hey, I did your homework. I pegged my kid with a snowball. Yes, we need those.
I'm just wondering if you have to start from scratch or if you can use some of the information. Because several years ago, we had a plan in place for a virtual snow day.
Oh.
We were all set to go, but the state was not ready for
and
us.
Guess
So,
what? It's the same application.
really,
So before COVID, after everybody's already done this, it's back to the same application. So we are going through our previous one and we're updating it because we've just had a couple of years of tremendous experience. So,
I looked at that application. What came to me anyway was 22 pages, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking, whoa. it's
Yeah.
a lot. Okay, good.
So any further discussion? I'll entertain a motion to approve for the superintendent to apply for virtual snow days. Motion you made. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Moving to, I'll entertain a motion to go to executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 4246 5A 1, job performance of the superintendent.
So,
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
second.
Second. Before we go in, I just want to make a statement. Superintendent, we sent you a letter that we're going to discuss this in executive session. You opted to hold it in executive session, correct?
correct.
Okay. Roll call.
Chair Lombardi,
Yes.
Mrs. Mayo,
Yes.
Mrs. Vada,
Yes.
Mr. Connell,
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
We're in executive session. Here we go. Okay, great. Thank you, Superintendent. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn executive session.
So moved.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Seconded. Roll call, please.
Chair Lombardi.
Yes.
Mrs. Mayo.
Yes.
Mrs. Vada,
Yes.
Mr. Connell,
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
We're out of executive session. We're in open session. I'll entertain a motion to seal the executive session minutes.
So moved.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Just for the record, there were no votes taken in executive session. I'll entertain a motion to approve the job performance superintendent evaluation that were reviewed in executive session. Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. You have that, Adam. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Any further business? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? We're adjourned.